So, element stiffness matrix for the first element, AE by L into 1 minus 1 or straight away I will take it AE by L itself. That's the element stiffness matrix. AE by L, which is nothing but A is area of cross section 600 millimeter square. E is 80 GPa, that is 80 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton per square meter. That is nothing but 80 into 10 cube Newton per millimeter square. Right? Or this I can write 80 kilonewton per millimeter square. I don't use this. Right away I will say 80 itself. I will keep units in terms of millimeters and load in kilonewtons. Load also I will keep it in kilonewton itself. So 600 millimeter square, load 80, then that is A, E divided by L. L is 600. So this is nothing but 80. Km2 equals Km3. That is also both Km2 and 3. They are having same area, same E, same length. 500, 500. So 600, 80 divided by 500, that is 96. Therefore, your unassembled stiffness matrix is equal to, for Km1 80, Km2 it is a diagonal matrix. This is 96, 96, 0, 0, 0. Like this you have to assemble. It's a diagonal matrix. Km1 first element, second element in the next diagonal, third diagonal. So it is a 3 by 3 matrix. I hope I made the things clear. In case of the R in plus, had you taken, because I have told taken only one element, right? Only one per member. One stiffness, one stiffness, one stiffness. But if you would have taken like this, vertical also, like this, 1, 2, 1, 2, then it is EA by L, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1. It's a 2 by 2 matrix, 2 by 2, 2 by 2, 2 by 2. So it will be 6 by 6 matrix. Had I taken like this both horizontal displacement and vertical displacement, both are possible in global, strictly speaking. In global it is 2, but in local it is only 1. Local also I have taken 2, then I would have followed 2, 2 like that. The all other things would have been 0. That I left it here. Right? So that's the shortcut procedure I am following. Otherwise, in finite element approach, we have to take that A by L, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1. So in classical, I have taken out that second one. I made that point clear to you. But in actual finite element procedure, this should have been a 2 by 2 matrix, 2 by 2, 2 by 2, it would have been 6 by 6. Had I taken other thing also into account. Otherwise, it's only one. So this is what the classical approach. Otherwise, virtually the opponent is same. Right? I hope I made the point clear. Classical and finite element process, what we are doing, shortcut procedure. So this is Km. Next, step 3. What is that step 3? transformation matrix. So here, third step, step 3, transformation matrix. Or here one small thing you have to remember. What is this transformation matrix? Of course, that I will explain in the finite element approach. The general transformation matrix generation, straight away we have that we can do it. But here we will go for our usual procedure. So, actually this transformation matrix is generated by finding the element forces, that is local coordinate forces, by applying unit displacements in the global direction. So here we have 3 degrees of freedom, that is static indeterminacy or kinematic indeterminacy is 3 degrees of freedom, U1, U2, U3, that is this. I have to apply a unit load in that direction, 1 at a time. U2 equals 1, then U3 equals 1, then V3 equals 1. I have to apply unit displacements along the unknown global coordinates, like that. One here at this node, another here, another here, and find out the corresponding member displacements in local coordinates. So what is the displacement here? What is the displacement here? Since I have applied the load, applied the displacement, not load, displacement. I have applied the displacement here at the node 2. Here I have applied the displacement at the node 3. Here also I have applied the displacement at the node 3. So I have to find out the corresponding displacements in the local member coordinates. See, the local coordinates are like this. Member n forces to be determined. This is member n forces to be determined in those member n forces directions. That is in local coordinate directions. I will use the word local coordinate directions. Whatever the displacement produced at that point where I have applied unit displacement, I have to determine. That is component of this displacement. The component of displacement has to be same, I told, which is equal to joint displacement. That is compatibility condition. That's what I have told. That I have to determine. Here this is applied, so I have to find the component of displacement. Here, of course, it is 0. Because there is no displacement applied at that end. Here also, it is applied here, there is no displacement. Here, it is applied here, no displacement. Only these displacements we have to find out. That's why you must use here similarity or static equations. Equilibrium for forces, whatever you have applied, same kind of thing you can apply here. Static is only resolution and develop. That is called transformation matrix. In finite element approach, standard value will give in terms of direction cosines. Ln 0, 0, 0, 0, Ln. I have derived it. I have not derived it, so I am not going to that particular aspect. So this is the procedure we are adopting in classical method. So along after defining local and global coordinates, go on applying unit displacement in the global coordinate direction, find the corresponding displacements with respect to local coordinates. Right? Apply unit displacement along global direction, find corresponding local coordinate displacement. I have applied global coordinate displacement. I have to find local coordinate displacement. Here it is not affected, only these two. Right? Because when once I know this should be same, equal and opposite. Having known this should be equal and opposite. That's why I didn't mark both the things. Only one I will determine straight away. It is easy. Now, here I have made displacement. Here it should be equal and opposite. So here it is 1. Sigma x equals 0. This side it is 1. This side should be 1. Sigma x should be 0. Similar to that. Next, here, component of this cos theta, so this cos theta, displacement d cos theta should be 1. Correct? What is the d? Whether it is, that is L cos theta, isn't it? D is 1. Here, this you assume it to be like this. Here it is 1. Here it should be equal and opposite. This you are resolving. Like this, like this. Correct? Vector addition. So this is what it is 1 cos theta. Because this is adjacent side. For theta, this is adjacent side, this is opposite. This component is cos theta. So that is, this is L. L into 1, L. Clear? This is the major aspect of this classical approach. That's the element approach, what we talk about. That's resolution. This should be very, very carefully done. Especially with sign convention. With computers, finite element approach, automatically it takes care of LM, direction cosine, that will take care of. You need not have to bother. Automatically it will compute. But here, you have to be careful with the sign. So this is L, direction cosine of the component. So what is that L we have determined for this element? Just can you give me? I have written it off. This is one element, second element, third element. For third element, what is L? 0.6. L is 0.6. So it is positive because it is in the local direction itself. Right? This is very, very important. So for this element or one row of that transformation matrix, for element 1 it is 1, for element 2 it is 0, for element 3 it is 0.6. Correct? I'll write it corresponding to that local coordinate direction. Now here, so the procedure for finding transformation matrix is go on applying unit load in the direction of each of the global coordinates chosen. Then find the corresponding member and displacements, components. Yes. Now here, this, it is like this. 1, if you resolve, it will be like this, no? This is 1. I am resolving along this, that is like this. Correct? Vector addition, this plus this is equal to this. So this is in the same direction, positive. Right? Otherwise, this direction, whatever you have given, you resolve. You see whether it is in horizontal. This you resolve horizontally. Whatever you got here, that you resolve horizontally. That is L cos theta, cos theta, it is cosine component. Cos theta if you take, this is theta. From this you can find out cos theta is by this. That is 300 by 500. That also you can do it. If you resolve this, this is in the same direction of the force, so you have to take it as negative. That is very, very important here. Right? So this, if you resolve, that is very easy. This particular thing, if I resolve horizontally and vertically, like that, reverse way I am adopting, that's easier. This I am resolving this horizontal, vertical of global. Correct? This is theta. So this has to be cosine, this has to be sine. With this theta. Correct? With this theta. This I call it theta. So this is in the same direction as this. When it is in the same direction, I have to take the negative. If it is in the opposite direction, because here, you see, applied force is like that, this is opposite. So positive I have taken. Like that, this also. This if you resolve, it is like this itself, so it is opposite to that, so it is positive I have taken. Here, it is, resolved component is in the same direction, so it is negative. So this is minus cos theta. Cos theta is L. L is what? L of this member, it is 0.8 I think. That's it. Because this is the angle theta. This theta is nothing but, this is what with respect to this theta I have calculated. This is theta, so this will be 90 minus theta. So cosine of 90 minus theta, sin theta, so this will be minus sin theta. So that is the major aspect of this element procedure. That's why most of you will do wrong in this element procedure. Correct? Am I right? It is clear otherwise. Just see whether it is okay or not. So that cos theta, I think cos theta value is L. L is 0.6. I don't know what it is. Just see what is that L or this direction. This is 1, 0, 0.6 I have taken. That's okay. This one is 1. This is anyway, it is 0.6. 1.6 minus 0.6. Because this I told you, if you resolve it in the same direction, so in this member, it is minus cosine theta of that is 0.6. For this, if you resolve, it is opposite, so positive, so this is 0.6. 0.6. So for this, if you take like this, so this is the element directions. This, if you resolve, this is down, this is also down. So both are down, opposite to this, so positive. Is it clear now? I hope. This is the easy procedure for finding out the component. Here, you mark the joint where you have applied the unit load. You mark the members where you have to find the component of the displacement and their direction, that is local coordinate direction. Resolve that suitably. So this is theta, this is theta with respect to horizontal. So this if you resolve, it gives downward direction. Here it gives downward direction. So that is opposite to the direction of the load applied. So when it is opposite, it has to be positive. Positive down. That is, M you have to take it. M is, it is 0.8 I think. Just 0.8. This is 0. This is 0.8. This is what you have to do. That exercise is only resolution of the displacement or finding the component of the unit displacement in the direction of the local coordinate. This you have to practice it correctly, then you will never do that. Therefore, your transformation matrix, it will be, you assemble all these in one matrix, you will get this. That's all the exact calculation you have to make it. If at all you have to use your time, it's only here. The rest are all only is matrix operation, only multiplication or writing the transpose. Is this procedure clear? That is this. Whereas in finite element procedure, automatically this resolution will be taking place the moment we give the formula for rotation transformation matrix to it. So that's the small change between this procedure and finite element procedure. I am indicating parallelly both the methods, both the procedures I am indicating. So first step, it is common for both methods. Second step, same, no change, classical and finite element approach. Third step, we are adopting a shortcut procedure of resolution like this with limited number of degrees of freedom, resolving only if they are opposite to the direction of the applied loads, you take it as positive. If it is in the same direction, the resolution, you take it as negative, cos theta or sin theta, whatever it is, L or and write it. Next, step 4. Step 4 is global stiffness matrix. Global stiffness matrix. Because we have to determine ds. ds is ks into, ps equals ks into ds. ps is known. The moment I determine ks, ds can be computed. So you can automate. Then Vm can be computed, that formula. Right. That's all. That's the general procedure by both the methods. Both I am explaining, so I don't mind in taking little bit extra time. Doesn't matter. So the global stiffness matrix, this of course I will derive it. Right now you just remember it is nothing but RT into Km into R. So this is a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay. So this Ks, what is the size of Ks? It has to be 3 by 3 because there are 3 coordinates. So it has to be 3 by 3. That is known. So this RT is transpose of this, that is nothing but 0.6, 1.6 and minus 0.6. Automatically write the transpose of that R matrix. So this will be 1.8 into Km matrix. This is it, yes. 0.6, 1.6 minus 0.6, 0.8. That columns, I will make it row. Then Km is nothing but here 18, 0, 0, 0, 96, 0, 96 into R. R is again, you can write that matrix 10.6, 1.6 minus 0.6. This is 0.8, 0.8. No? You perform this operation, you will get the globus. First, you multiply this and this. This is 3 by 3. This is 3 by 3. Column of this is equal to row of this. They are equal. So resulting will be 3 by 3. Right? So that 3 by 3 and this 3 by 3. You have to multiply. That's also row and column, they are equal. So 3 by 3, final one. So that is your global matrix. So I will give you that global matrix. So this finally KF. If you perform that matrix operations, that's only matrix multiplication, you will get this KS as 114.56 minus 34.56. Next, this is 46.08. This has to be symmetric, 46.08. So this is 69.12. This will be 0, 0. Then this is 122.88. So when you affect large number of problems, of course, as per syllabus, the finite element approach in that particular thing, they have not mentioned the size of the degrees of freedom. So they can give any number of degrees of freedom. 3 degrees of freedom they are mentioned only for first unit 2, that's only for classical approach. They can restrict that only generate the stiffness matrix. But only up to here, they may say, if it is 4, 5, 6 degrees, only up to here, you have to generate. And of course, finite element procedure, the generation of R is very simple. So it takes care of that, likewise. Right? When you read this syllabus, that's what I was going through. So they have not mentioned or put any restriction on the degrees of freedom for that. Solving same beam test problem, they have not put. I was wondering why. Then I thought that probably they may ask you to generate only up to here. Problems may be set. Otherwise, if they set for solving complete deformation, then they have to restrict to 3. They have to say yes. So when once KX is known, otherwise I hope this particular course should have been attached with the lab, so that you should be asked with MATLAB or any other computer programming to use this or solve it. So that's step 5. Step 5 to find displacements or solving formation of equations. That is formation of equations. That is what that step 5 I have given. So you have to generate Ps is equal to Ks into Ds. This I have to generate. What is that Ps? Load given. Load given corresponding to the degrees of freedom. The degrees of freedom, I have kept it out, or the degrees of freedom are corresponding to only the rollers go here, here, here. These are the unknowns, U2, U3, V3. These are the only unknowns we have marked. So Px is the load corresponding to this. Because I told you, always we consider the loads to be acting, the action loads to be only at the joint. So joints only, right? Joints only one load is given, that is 5 kilonewtons. That 5 kilonewton load is given So you have to be very, very careful in taking this sign. Corresponding to this, no load. Px is equal to, corresponding to U2, no load. Corresponding to U3, no load. Corresponding to V3, given load is acting opposite to that direction. Opposite to that direction means positive. This is a very, very important thing. Had the load would have been given here, top, intentionally I am explaining here, be careful. Here, suppose it is 5 kilonewton, would have been given here, outside. Don't be under the impression that that is minus. Right? So here it is, of course it is minus, whereas because it is towards, this particular load is towards the joint, this is away from the joint. But away from the joint is positive. Towards the joint it is negative. So this load, if you could have been given down, not like this, you should have taken -5. But now you have to take that load as 5 plus 4. That's a very important thing. Be careful with this aspect. Load whether within the element or away from the element. Because when the load is given here, of course it is opposite to this. Because both are outside only, I am considering. So this to be taken negative. But this, don't be under the impression, this is opposite to this, you have to take negative. That's what I am trying to point out. Don't take this as -5. It has to be +5. So this is another important aspect which you have to bear it in mind. Because while resolving this displacement you have seen, I have explained, when you take the component opposite, if it is coming component, you take positive. The same direction, take it negative. That's what I have explained. If you do, most of you do wrong in this sign convention. That's why this element procedure, they say it is complicated, because of this reason. But it is very simple, straightforward. But principle or basic concept to be understood well. So that's all. Ks we have generated, therefore equation is 0, 0, 5 is equal to Ks matrix, that is this 114.56 minus 34.56, 46.08, then 69.120, then 122.88. It is symmetric. Here it is PS because this is unknown displacements U2, U3, V3. Now we can solve this equation either by inverting this or by expanding this into 3 simultaneous equations. 114.56 U2 minus 34.56 U3 plus 46.08 V3 equals 0. One equation. Second equation, minus 34.56 U2, 69.512 U3, 0 is equal to 0. Or 46.08 U2, then 0 U3, then 120.3 V3 is equal to 5. 3 simultaneous equations in terms of U2, U3, V3 you can solve. Either solution of simultaneous equation or inversion of matrix procedure we can adopt and solve for U2, U3, V3. That is your first unknown. What you have to determine, ds. That is not ds, of course. Therefore, this is ds is equal to this. It is, let's say, Ks inverse into PS. Either by inverting or by solving. You can do this. If you solve this, you will get this ds unknown displacements as minus 0.2344 minus 0.1152 and 0.04348. So many millimeters. All in millimeters should be consistent with that. So when once ds is known, then step 6, this is your step 6. Solution of equations. This is formation of equation, either equation form or matrix. Step 6, solution. Then last step, finding the member end. Right? So with that, PM, member end forces to be in the form of PM1, PM2, PM3. That's all. So here is the formula that completes that procedure of solving this, either presence or any plate field by step 7 steps of member forces. So that is PM is equal to Km. So we have M is equal to Km dm. That's my force displacement relationship. dm Km. dm is nothing but or ds. You see transformation matrix? I've told you. Km, dm is equal to rds. That's member end displacement is equal to global end displacement. ds equals 1, global end displacement 1 on I given result, transformation matrix. So that is your dm. That's what I have determined. Already now, this is therefore what is nothing but Km is nothing but 96. What is Km? 80, 0, 0, 0, 96. That is total structure. And or 1, 0.6, 0.6 minus 0.6, then 0.8, 0.8, and ds is that 0.02344 minus 0.1152 minus plus 0.04348. So if you determine this is nothing but P1, P2, P3. This is 3 by 3, 3 by 3, 3 by 1. So this if you multiply, you will get 3 by 1. That 3 get cancelled, you will have the 3 by 1. So you will get this final number and forces as minus 3.1245, 3.1. Minus 1.87, this is 3.125 kilonewtons. This is that element member end forces PM1, PM2, PM3. That is in the truss. Now you can mark mark it. This is the member in directions. Member 1, of course, this is negative, right? Minus, so it has to be, arrow has to be like this, to be towards the joint. So this is 1.87, this is, both are positive, so assume direction will be indicated. This is the applied load. So you can cross check by resolving the forces that 5 kilonewtons, you will get this 3.125, 3.125. So that's the check. I made the check, so that's perfectly all right. So when this is known, stresses, what is stress in this, stress in this, stress in this, you have to divide by area. Area of cross section is same, 600. So this divided by 600, this divided by 600, this divided by 600. So that is stress in each element is equal to this force divided by area. If you do that, I think that also you can calculate and see you will get minus 3.1245. This is 5.2083. 5.2083 MPa is megapascal. That is, this will be in terms of, that is into 10 to the power of 6 Newton per millimeter square, a meter square. This will be megapascal at all. 3.1245 megapascal. Mega means 10 to the power of 6. Or this is Newton per millimeter square. Right. Okay. Here you will have kilonewtons. Mind it. So this into 10 cube. That divided by 10 to the power of 6. Automatically you will get it. So with this, I have explained the process of analyzing a truss. I have given the procedure, that is 7 steps for the analysis of beams, trusses, frames. Same process I have now explained how a typical example of a truss can be solved. In another class, I will explain one problem on beam and another frame. The same steps, 7 steps to be followed. One continuous beam problem, I will take it and solve it. So if there is a temperature change, there is a settlement support. That's what it is indicated. That's one thing. That is, here, supposing this while fabricating one of these members, either it will be too short or too long. If it is too long, it has to be forced in. Right? So it has to be forced in means a compressive force to be adopted. If it is short, it has to be pulled in. Pulled in means it has to be elongated, and this accordingly you have to apply a force there and analyze. Right? That is, suppose temperature effect I will take. Temperature effect instead of that AE by L, whatever I have taken, while taking out, generating the strain and other things, you have to take it as E alpha T divided by L. That's all. So I will take an example of that settlement also included for the same problem. There is a temperature change for all the elements, say from 0 to 50 degrees, whatever it is. What is the temperature change occurred? What is the coefficient of linear expansion? Both I will give it. The rest is same procedure. Only that PS matrix to be calculated, change, that's all. Only this PS, there is a change. What is the load corresponding to that temperature change or this settlement of support change? only that to be included. So I will explain that process. In the beam I will take a settlement of support similar to that. Because in beam I have not taken vertical component, I made it 0. But if I introduce a settlement of support, there will be a force. That force we have to take it in load vector. I will indicate the procedure separately. So that aspect also will be taken into consideration. That's the initial strain involved in the elements. Initial strain either may be lack of field or temperature change. So it's a very simple, straightforward procedure which can be incorporated. There is not much change, only in the generation of PS. We have to work out at that joint, wherever that load is introduced because of this secondary effect, secondary force. Except that there is nothing much, so we can just proceed.